Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we will now begin the segment entitled Regional Commission's Presentations. I first invite Ms. Olga Algayerova, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, to make a statement.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, this panel today is about the importance of the regional commissions in the implementation of the new urban agenda. Regional commissions have responded to the General Assembly Resolution 75/224 and address sustainable urbanization in the respective regional fora on sustainable development. In 2022, for instance, these fora discuss progress in the implementation of the new urban agenda and the urban dimensions of the 2030 agenda. The regional fora for sustainable development constitute a key component of the UN's regional architecture for follow-up and review of the SDGs. Regional commissions have integrated the new urban agenda and localization as priorities for acceleration of the SDGs through the regional fora for sustainable development. This has allowed for the contextualization of the new urban agenda within regionally specific agreements, priorities, and realities. The engagement of local and regional governments has also been steadily becoming more prominent at the regional fora for sustainable development, leading to improved local national coordination of SDGs implementation. Today, you will have a snapshot of how we work with local authorities, cities, the mayors, but also practitioners towards sustainable urbanization. It is not just by chance we have renowned architect Norman Foster with us today. He has been championing our approach, allowing us to work closer with mayors and acting as an ambassador of urban sustainability with them. I wish to reiterate here once again that to enhance the implementation of the new urban agenda, regional commissions are ready to directly facilitate dialogue with member states, given their mandate and their everyday work with the UN country teams, resident coordinators, regional coordination platforms, etc., on relevant projects. Building on our experiences in directly supporting various UN intergovernmental processes, the regional commissions can use existing institutional mechanisms to strengthen the engagement of local governments in intergovernmental processes. If you would like to learn more about our work, please check the paper we have developed to complement the quadrennial report released last month. Its title is the Regional Commission's Report on the Progress on the Implementation of the New Urban Agenda 2019-2022. This paper highlights the relevant work of the regional commissions on the action-oriented initiatives in our respective regions. Let me invite you all, ladies and gentlemen, to read this report as it details many activities of regional commissions on sustainable urbanization and shows how regional commissions work to connect the regional, national, and the local levels. This is a key concept for a new multilateralism. We are promoting it. That will help us delivering the SDGs more effectively. I really hope you will enjoy our panel as it shows how many different activities are possible for promotion sustainable urban action in a very practical and pragmatic way. In concluding, many thanks for your attention, and it is now my pleasure to hand over to Lord Norman Foster to speak to us about creative forward-looking approaches for bolstering the role of practitioners in localizing and implementing the new urban agenda. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe for a statement. I now invite Mr. Norman Robert Foster, Baron Foster of Thames Bank, to make a statement. You have the floor.
Distinguished President of the General Assembly, dear Executive Director of UN Habitat, dear Executive Director of UNECE, Your Excellencies, fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen. In October 2020, as the UN patron for cities, I launched the Forum of Mayors. Today, 19 months later, the planet has expanded by 151 million people, every day more than 250,000. And most of those are in cities. Why? Because despite the many challenges, cities offer more opportunities, wealth, innovation, liberation, education. Cities are civilization's greatest invention, and they are a conscious act of design. They start with a plan, and over time, cities evolve and change. And right now, climate change is one of those major challenges. So master plans for cities have to be updated or recreated. A master plan is about the history and heritage of a city, but it's prepared in anticipation of a sustainable future, which is unknowable. The master plan has to look decades ahead because it incorporates the physical infrastructure of mobility, sanitation, all those heavy fixes. But it's also a social manifesto for the future. It's about housing, equality, education, public space, biodiversity, agriculture, culture, health, and sport. And the master plan embodies the UN New Urban Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals. It's one of the prime vehicles to achieve those. A master plan determines the DNA of a city. Is it compact, connected, walkable, friendly, or does it sprawl into the countryside, consuming precious land, engendering long commutes? Infrastructure is the urban glue that binds the individual buildings together. It's the public spaces, the parks, the greenery, the bridges, the subways. It determines the very quality of life in the city. It's more important than any individual building. It's about local identity, but with a global awareness. And the global awareness of climate change is with us all the time. How is it achieved? How do you make it? You need a strong local administration, a team, diverse, strong leadership, combined with independent design skills. Architects, urbanists, engineers. There is a long history of their distinguished involvement in the planning of cities. Much of a city, the master plan is two-dimensional zoning, determining what happens where. But a city is a three-dimensional physicality. And imagine creating a model of that, a physical model, which becomes a tool not only for planning in the future, the regional planning, but involves the community because everybody can connect with a model. So it engenders a social community involvement in the process, bottom up, a participation. The typical city expands out from a core. It has neighborhoods, and those are smaller scale opportunities for shorter term urban design exercises. And the pandemic has shone a kind of torchlight on accelerating change. We've seen the way in which cities have become more pedestrianized. That's an opportunity for tree planting, for beautification. But trees not only beautify and improve the quality of life, they absorb carbon dioxide, they counter global warming. But master planning confronts change. You could say the only constant is change, which leads to the important skills of advocacy, of diplomacy. I'd like to give you perhaps an example which was referred to earlier, the Forum of Mayors. And I was asked my advice, and I said, what if the next gathering of the mayors, that instead of reading pre-prepared speeches, they show photographically before and after photographs of positive change in the cities to the benefit of the citizens. And that happened. It's been a tremendous success, so positive, I can't tell you, and with evident pride, justifiably, on those who are presenting. I'd like to end on a note of optimism and the future. Through this forum, I was approached by the mayor of Kharkiv, which is the second city in Ukraine. It was up till 35 the first city. It's a city of culture, of industry, of high tech. And I was asked, in the midst of the bombardment, the destruction of hospitals, of housing, for my advice. And I said, what if we bring together the best minds in the world, together with the best talent, and we work with locals, with people who understand that territory, and together we can serve, recreate the best of the past and project Kharkiv into a city of the future. And I invoked, in my conversation with the mayor, I reminded him that at the height of World War II, in the darkest hour, a plan for Greater London was commissioned about reconstruction, about growth and the future. And at the height of the pandemic in 2020, that was updated, that same master plan, which is guiding that city, the creation of the Green Belt. With inspirational examples like that, I see the future with optimism and hope. Thank you so much.
I thank Mr. Norman Robert Foster for his statement. I now invite the local representatives to take their seats at the podium at Davos time. I would like to warmly welcome our invited speakers participating in the segment Regional Commission's presentations. Representing the Economic Commission for Europe will be Ms. Paula Deda, Director of the Forest, Housing and Land Management Division of the Commission, and Mr. Sami Kanan, Mayor of Geneva, Switzerland, and President of the Geneva Cities Hub. Representing the Economic Commission for Africa, Ms. Edlam Yemeru, Officer in Charge of the Gender Poverty and Social Policy Division of the Urbanization section of the Commission, and Mr. Lefu Manyakole, Principal Secretary of Local Government and the Chieftainship of the Kingdom of Lesotho. Representing the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, Mr. Diego Aulestia, Head of the Human Settlement of the Commission, and Mr. Fernando Gray, Mayor of Esteban Echevarria, Argentina, and head of Mercosidades. Representing the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific are Mr. Kurt Garrigan, Chief of the Sustainable Urban Development Section of the Environment and Development Division of the Commission, and Mr. Mahadi bin Chenga, Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Representing the Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia, Ms. Sukaina Al-Nasrawi, lead of the Sustainable Urban Development Portfolio at the Commission, and His Excellency Yahya Musa Kisbi, Minister of Public Works and Housing of Jordan. I now give the floor to the speakers representing the Economic Commission for Europe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellency, distinguished delegates, as you have heard from Lord Foster, UNEC works with mayors through the Forum of Mayors, which is a special platform allowing them to participate directly and effectively in the UN work. Sami Kanan, the mayor of Geneva, will tell you more about that. UNEC's work in support of the new urban agenda focuses on translating the SG concept of new multilateralism into practice, and does so through multi-level analysis, best practices, collaborative models, and capacity building activities geared towards creating synergies between local, national, regional, and global efforts. We do this through an intergovernmental process, the Committee on Urban Development, Housing and Land Management, its Working Party on Land Administration, the Real Estate Market Advisory Group, but also a high number of action plans, for instance, for the recovery of informal settlements after COVID-19 or sustainable housing, and a wide array of guidance documents and guidelines, but also targeted technical assistance projects, communication for information sharing, and 8 centers of excellence that we have established in different cities in the region, in Tirana, Toronto, Tallinn, Trondheim, Geneva, Glasgow, Milan, and Madrid with the Norman Foster Foundation. I stop here for the sake of time. I thank you all for participating today, and I give the floor to Mr. Sami Kanan, the Mayor of Geneva, to tell you more about the Forum of Mayors. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président.
President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to be able to participate in this United Nations General Assembly session on the new urban agenda in my capacity as Mayor of Geneva and President of the Geneva Cities Hub. Here I'm participating as a promoter of renewed multilateralism, which has taken a great step forward in Geneva with the second edition of the Forum of Mayors with the UNECE. This forum is unique because it allows us to hear the voices of local authorities in a multilateral official framework. More than 40 local elected representatives participated to discuss the necessary progress that needs to be made to achieve the SDGs in a more and more urbanized world, a world that was shaken sorely by the COVID-19 pandemic, not forgetting, of course, the challenges posed by armed conflicts, the climate emergency, growing social inequality, and accelerated digitalization of our societies. Beyond statements made in the plenary session by mayors, we discussed best practices and our commitments for more sustainable cities, more inclusive cities, and cities with more solidarity. We also participated in creating the forum. We opened it to other regions, and we provided food for thought for the future. This forum in Geneva embodies the development towards an inclusive form of multilateralism. This is why the Geneva Cities Hub supported it and will continue to do so, particularly so that it can become an effective tool, a more comprehensive one, and one that is focused on collaboration between cities themselves and in partnership with the Global Task Force of Cities Network representatives, and of course, states, other partners. Mayors must be able to participate in global governance. They have local, innovative solutions which allow us to contribute to addressing global challenges. But to share these solutions, mayors need more space on the international stage and to be fully recognized as a partner for multilateralism. I thank you very much for your attention.
Representing the Economic Commission for Europe for their statement and presentations. I next give the floor to the speakers representing the Economic Commission for Africa.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates and representatives, as Africa undergoes a monumental game-changing transition, the Economic Commission for Africa supports member states' actions to leverage and prioritize it as an unique opportunity to accelerate economic growth, fiscal stability, and debt sustainability, among other national priorities. ECA's robust evidence is showing that urbanization is improving access to jobs, health, education, and technology across urban and rural areas. We have developed practical policy solutions for member states to expand these benefits accruing from urbanization. Specifically, ECA is supporting member states to place urban and spatial planning at the center of national and regional economic policy making, including the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. ECA is further supporting innovation and systems to unleash the economic and financial potential of cities and revolutionize related data. Indeed, in Africa, cities and local governments offer concrete solutions for Africa's development financing needs. Backstopping the African Union-endorsed regional framework for the urban agenda and related regional reviews are additional priorities for us at ECA. ECA will continue to promote sustainable urbanization as a necessary foundation, not just for immediate economic recovery, but also for an inclusive, green, and prosperous future for all. It is now my honor to hand over to Mr. Lefu Manyakole, the Principal Secretary of Local Government and Chieftainship from the Kingdom of Lesotho, to share the country's experience, including its collaboration with ECA. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank my colleague Adlam for putting the perspective of our position as ECA. But let me, with those remarks, say to you, we thank this opportunity, the President of the General Assembly, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, President of the General Assembly, for convening this high-level meeting and giving us the platform to share our progress in implementing the new urban agenda. Let me also align my delegation of Lesotho with the statement made by Malawi on behalf of the African Group. The government of Lesotho has made significant strides in addressing the challenges related to basic services, climate change, infrastructure, land, and the provision of affordable housing. This includes the construction of houses, sites, and services for all income groups through the Lesotho Housing and Land Development Corporation and land acquisition by private developers for the provision of middle and high-income housing. Also, Lesotho is currently developing a multi-sectoral action plan for the implementation of the new urban agenda aligned to the country's second National Strategic Development Plan called commonly NSDP2. As a country, we recognize that to transform urbanization, action is required across all sectors and policies. The plan prioritizes increased urban job creation and identifies the potential of the manufacturing sector, through which we expanded multipliers and supply chains to broaden the benefits of the sector. This is of great urgency is that the need for innovative financing systems for sustainable urbanization. Our aim is to tap the considerable wealth of our urban areas for improved social and economic outcomes across Lesotho. Mr. President, the prioritization of the new urban agenda at the highest levels of the national economic policy is critical. We are working to set up an urbanization as a core priority in Lesotho as a new national development plan. Furthermore, we consider tackling critical urban data gaps and productions of high quality statistics to be more urgent. We trust that United Nations systems will scale up its assistance to member states in this regard. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the speakers representing the Economic Commission for Africa for their presentation. I next give the floor to the speakers representing the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean.
Thanks, Mr. President. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the Latin American and Caribbean region, the work of the Regional Commission in the field of sustainable urban development aims to contribute to inclusive, productive, and equal cities, and includes currently the following: capacity building and policy advice for integrated urban policy formulation and land policy making, including gap analysis at national and local levels. Development of local-level action plans for economic recovery from COVID-19. Policy guidelines on the big push approach to urban mobility and its contribution to transformative recovery. For example, we have developed a regulatory framework for retrofit in electromobility. Technical assistance for the formulation and implementation of local-level climate action plans in 8 cities of the region. We continue the development and updating of the Urban and Cities platform. And finally, ECLAC is the co-technical secretariat, together with UN Habitat, to the Forum of Ministers for Housing and Urbanism of Latin America and the Caribbean, MINURBI. I pass the floor now to Mr. Fernando Gray, Mayor of Esteban Echeverria, Argentine, and President of Mercociudades, Network of Local Governments in South America. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, good morning to you all. It is a privilege to join you to reflect on the implementation of the new urban agenda and represent the Latin American local government. Mercociudades is a network of 364 cities in 10 countries. Thus, we propose 3 considerations. We seek to foster citizens' involvement in the human rights agenda. We aim to increase the bonds between local government and funding and international cooperation agencies. We will embrace the new agenda in view of the social and environmental feature of our region to reduce inequalities from a gender and sustainability perspective. Thank you very much for listening to the Latin American views.
I thank the speakers representing the Economic Commission for Latin America and Caribbean for their presentation. I now give the floor to speakers representing the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. ESCAP is assisting mayors and cities to localize the SDGs and implement the new urban agenda. Our 2019 Future of Asian and Pacific Cities report, produced in partnership with UN Habitat and others, clearly identified policy pathways and guidance on urban planning, resilience, smart and inclusive cities, and finance. This guidance now forms the curriculum for our Asia-Pacific Mayors Academy, convened with UN Habitat, UCLG Asia Pacific, and others, supporting new mayors to identify urban solutions with their communities. Following our 7th Asia-Pacific Urban Forum, we developed with partners the Asia-Pacific Regional Guidelines on Voluntary Local Reviews, enabling cities to review their progress towards the SDGs and urban sustainability. Cities in Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, Nepal, and Thailand have applied these guidelines for VLRs. Subang Jaya, Malaysia's VLR was launched at last year's high-level political forum. We will continue to work to ensure safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable cities across the region. One of those cities is Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which will complete its VLR before this year's high-level political forum. I'm pleased to introduce the Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, the Honorable Datuk Seri, Mr. Mahadi bin Che Naga. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with the integration of new technologies, we now have an opportunity to re-engage how cities are planned, designed, financed, developed, and governed to address rapid urbanization impacts like traffic congestion, urban poor, pollution, and inadequate spaces. In line with this spirit, Kuala Lumpur City Hall's efforts to localize and implement the Sustainable Development Goals and new urban agenda are being consolidated at the Kuala Lumpur SDG Center Digital Twin. Some of our initiatives to localize achieving the SDGs are increase the installation of solar systems on Kuala Lumpur City Hall owned facilities, imposed at least 30% of renewable energy utilization to developers in their projects, incorporated a new bicycle and pedestrian network lined with shady trees, developed new neighborhood parks, solid waste recycling center, and rainwater harvesting system for new development projects, provide trainings to upskill the urban poor, and collaborate with our contractors for job opportunities. Provided a free trade areas for petty traders in Kuala Lumpur. Install 5,000 CCTVs around Kuala Lumpur for better supervision of traffic congestion, road safety, flash flood, and infrastructure maintenance. Shorten renewal of business premise licenses online and on the spot. Submission and approval of construction permits online, and encourage residents of Kuala Lumpur to embrace low-carbon lifestyle. We run SDG awareness programs with public schools and resident associations. In conclusion, Kuala Lumpur City Hall has been very committed and will continue to push the digitalization agenda for the benefit of all KLites. This is to ensure that our efforts to make Kuala Lumpur a sustainable, livable, resilient, inclusive, and a happy city for all will come true. Thank you very much.
I thank the speakers representing the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific for their presentation. I now give the floor to speakers representing the Economic and the Social Commission for Western Asia.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The Arab region is one of the most urbanized regions in the world. The time is now to take serious action to reverse the effects of unsustainable urbanization. Believing in the centrality of the strengthened capacity of local governments, ESCWA guides the region on transformation processes towards smart, sustainable, inclusive, equal, and resilient Arab cities. ESCWA also highlights urban development in its e-learning platform. At ESCWA, we elevate the focus of urban development through organizing national urban forums and through the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development, among others. ESCWA lies at the forefront of enhancing the regional momentum to localize the Sustainable Development Goals. In partnership with UN Habitat, ESCWA is leading the development of the first 2 voluntary local reviews in the Arab region, for Amman in Jordan and for Agadir in Morocco. At ESCWA, we seek sustainable urbanization as a top development priority because we owe this to our planet and to present and future generations. It is now my honor to give the floor to His Excellency, Engineer Yahya Al-Qasbi, the Minister of Public Works and Housing in Jordan. His Excellency will deliver a statement on behalf of His Excellency Dr. Yusuf Al-Shawarba, the Mayor of Greater Amman Municipality, who was unfortunately not able to join us today. Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Sayyid al-Rais.
In the name of God, President, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you on behalf of the head of the Amman municipality for the invitation to participate in this important meeting. The city of Amman is facing, much like other cities around the world, various urban challenges, such as demographic growth that is increasing following the repeated waves of refugees, and also climate change and the effects thereof, which thus increase the number of city dwellers, which is around 4 million, and therefore 43% of the total population in Jordan. This phenomenon has put a lot of pressure on infrastructures and services. The Greater Amman municipality is always working to be more effective and improve its services to link its work between strategic plan and the SDGs and the new plan for the city. We also have complemented governmental efforts to support the implementation of the SDGs, including SDG 11 on cities, on safe, flexible and sustainable cities for all. The municipality has also been working on several plans and strategies for the implementation of the new urban agenda with various partners in the private sector, and we're happy to be able to cooperate with all of these people and also with ESCWA and UN Habitat. The voluntary local review for Amman aims to promote capacity for follow-up and follow local development and strengthen international dialogue with other cities around the world. More importantly, it aims to update a long-term strategy to streamline and nationalize the ODGs for the period of 2030. This coincides with the presentation by the Jordan government of 2 voluntary reviews, which guarantees consistency and harmony between national and local plans, and would also strengthen the statewide efforts to achieve development for its citizens and thus contribute to global development. It is up to us to participate in today's dialogue to support the work of local governments in international efforts and reaffirm the need to strengthen dialogue, communication and expertise. We also benefit from global expertise in this field and best practices too. Thank you very much.
I thank the speakers representing the Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I wish to thank our distinguished panelists for their contributions and for being with us today. The segment presentations by the regional commissions is thus now concluded.